Hi, I'm Anne. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm going to be doing my TBR for March of the Mammoths. So I will link down in the description the readathon that is going on in March, but the whole point of the March of the Mammoths is to tackle very long books during the month of March. I believe any book that is over 800 pages counts as a mammoth. I think those are the parameters. I knew that I wanted to participate this coming month, but I also knew that I had a lot of reading to do. Like last week, I released a video talking about my Lent TBR, and then I'm currently still going on with Around the World in 80 Days readathon, which I am very much prioritizing. I'm also focusing on my physical TBR. So I knew if I was going to participate in March of the Mammoths, I had to set certain parameters for myself. So first and most obvious is I had to pick books that were on my physical TBR already. So I really want to read Shogun by James Cavill, which is something that several other booktubers are trying to read for the March of the Mammoths, but I also don't own a physical copy of that, so unfortunately I won't be reading it in the coming month. So the second parameters that I had to do, unfortunately, were it had to be books that I could get on audiobook, either on my Libby app through the library or on LibriVox. So it had to be a book that was older than 100 years old, because most of those have been already put on audiobook. Because I knew that I couldn't actually have the time to physically read any of these books, but I know when I am at work for, 5-6 hours, like 4 days a week, I have a lot more time to tackle like very big books, and that's how I have been able to, in the last couple months, tackle a lot of my big books. So I knew those were two of the most important parameters that I couldn't leave. I do have one book on my TBR that I could not get on audiobook, but I think that I will be able to finish it in time because it is a book that I will probably be skimming quite a bit. So I have 5 books here. So the one that I have actually already started is one that I was hoping to finish. I am still hoping to, part of me is hoping to finish it by the end of this month in February, but 90% chance I will not be. And that is Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand. This book is about 1,200 pages, and worse yet, my copy has incredibly small font. I mean, do you see how ridiculously small that is? Which is why I read 5 pages of this book and I was like, no, I have to listen to this on audiobook. Is just so way too much. But I'm currently about a third of the way in. I am enjoying it more than The Fountainhead, but I have many negative thoughts on Ayn Rand's ideology, philosophy of life. But I do want to finish this in March of the Mammoths, and it is definitely a mammoth, being over 1,000 pages. Then, because I am not tackling enough very dense classics, the second one is one that I've been wanting to read for a long time, and I think I've had it on my TBR before, and I just have not been able to get to it. It's The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser, and this is on LibriVox because it is over 100 years old, so I can get it on audiobook, but I may switch back and forth between audiobook and physical format because this is a poem. So I feel like very much with poems, me reading poems, I find it easier to read them physically as opposed to audiobook, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to get it done with the audiobook because this is, my copy is about 1,100 pages. However, I think only about 900 pages is the actual poem, and the other 200 pages are like notes in the back and introduction, stuff like that. So I am very excited to tackle this book because this has been on my TBR for a long time. I've heard amazing things about it. Edmund Spenser, I believe, was almost a contemporary of Shakespeare, but obviously they were in very different stratospheres because Spenser was a poet, and Shakespeare, while he was a poet, he was much more like theater and on stage. So I don't know if they actually knew each other in real life. I'd be curious. Anyway, but so that one is the second mammoth I have to read. The third one is one that will probably be the lightest, and I'm looking forward to it possibly the most of these because I feel like it will be the funnest for me to read, and that is The Pickwick Papers by Charles Dickens. My copy of this is just a little bit over 800 pages. It's about 850 pages, so it's the lower amount of the Mammoth, and it is one of the few Charles Dickens books I haven't read. I've been tackling a lot of his books in the last 4 or 5 years. I've tackled most of his very big books, but I have not tackled this one, and I've owned this copy for a few years now. So I am really excited to finally be reading it, and I can get it on audiobook. And I really like listening to Charles Dickens on audiobook. I listened to The Christmas Carol for Christmas on audiobook, and there's something so magical about it. My mother read this book, and she says it's very much light fun, especially considering the last book I read by Charles Dickens was David Copperfield. And while that one does have a happier ending, it is dark in certain places. So I look forward to reading this. All right, the last one that I can get on audiobook, and the second to last one I'm hoping to read for March of the Mammoths, is The Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. This, I believe, is a medieval book set in the medieval era. It's more of a medieval drama. I do not know anything about it, to be honest. I think it's the beginning of a trilogy, I believe, and I've heard anyone who has read this speaks highly of it. And I've owned this copy for a few years now. It sits around 950 pages, so almost 1,000 pages. So I was able to get this on audiobook from my library, so I look forward to tackling this one as well. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll be able to continue on in this series until at least the end of the year when I'm hopefully done with my physical TBR, but that's okay. And the final one that I'm hoping to tackle next month for March the Mammoths is the only one that I can't get on audiobook, and it's The Search for Modern China by Jonathan D. Spence. But this is very much a dense Chinese history that I will probably be skimming. It also contains quite a few pictures, which will make my reading of it go a little bit quicker, but it sits at around about 900 pages. But I think the last almost 100 are notes and index and things like that. So that's the last book that I'm hoping to tackle for the March of the Mammoths. So I tried to make this challenge as realistic as possible because I'm just finishing up with Around the World in 80 Days Readathon. So I just have a few more countries left for that. And then I have the books that I'm reading for Lent, which are they're not light, but they're rather short books. So I'm hoping that I'm able to balance it out and complete these as well. I'm curious if you are participating in March of the Mammoths. What books are you reading? Have you read any of these books that I mentioned in this video? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.